Hello and welcome back to my channel where I like to have fun with all things beauty while being critical about what I accept into my collection. Today I am reviewing the brand Regelica. I bought the entire lineup and I've only finished the moisturizer, but I've been using it for at least 2 months, so I felt like that was enough time for me to sort of go through each thing, talk about what I like, and whether or not I'll purchase it again in the future. I want to start by apologizing if I sound funny or if I'm wiping my nose a lot during this. I have a cold. I'm not really that sick, but it's enough to be annoying. I don't have a ton of time when my house is quiet enough to film anything, so I really can't put this off. And anyway, I mean, most of my videos are makeup videos, but I definitely fell in love with skincare first. I will say, I don't think I'm qualified to be a skinfluencer or, talk about that primarily for a few reasons. Number one, even the stuff that I do feel like I have a good grasp on, I'm not good at communicating that. I've tried in the past to do deep dives into ingredients, and even stuff that I do think I'm well versed on, I don't come across that way. And I don't know if it's because I get nervous or what it is, but I don't do a very good job effectively communicating that. So that's the number one reason. But I also have very sensitive skin. So a lot of things that I try don't work on me, but that doesn't help other people because, while there are some more common sensitivities, I do think a lot of times when people have issues with ingredients, they're pretty unique. And sometimes I've even found that ingredients that I'm like almost 100% sure I can't use, when formulated differently in certain other products, I have found that I can use those things. So I don't know. I feel like there's so many unknowns and there's so many factors. Like the other thing is I am 40 years old. I didn't start taking care of my skin until I was 37. So I'm making up for a lot of lost time. And one thing I can't do is eliminate stuff that I know is working for me. So I think sometimes to really give something its most unbiased review, it's good to eliminate other things and really focus on that one item or lineup or whatever it is. And I'm just not willing to do that at this time. Like I found sort of a baseline of products that I know definitely makes a positive improvement in my skin, and I'm just not gonna play around with that too much. While there are absolutely categories of things like moisturizers, for example, I'm very willing to try a new moisturizer. I'm not willing to do that at the expense of removing tretinoin or retinol or whatever else is a staple for me. So I hope that makes sense. It's just, because of all that, I think my ability to test products is somewhat limited. And while you can say something like anti-aging or acne are more universal issues, still within that, a lot of these things are very much based on our own individual experiences and preferences, quite frankly. So today, really wanted to talk a little bit about a brand that I haven't seen a ton of information about. When I first heard of this, I think it was from Alice in the Rabbit Hole, who is a great skincare channel, by the way. She spoke about this, and the first product that stuck out to me was a vitamin C alternative. Now, I'm always keeping my eye out for those because L-ascorbic acid, while I do think it's the best ingredient in terms of brightening, right now with my skin in the condition that it's in, I am doing other things for brightening, and my barrier is just too compromised to really handle L-ascorbic acid at an effective percentage, like between 15 and 20%. It's just a little bit too irritating for me. So because of that, I'm always keeping my eye out for derivatives because I do think we actually have a number on the market that are promising. And she spoke about this brand, and then I sort of did a deep dive, went into the rabbit hole, so to speak, and tried to look up as many reviews as I could. Because frankly, these are expensive products, I didn't want to just blind buy, like I will with a lot of K-beauty. With a lot of K-beauty, everything is cheap enough where it's not the end of the world if something doesn't work for me. these products cost a lot of money, so I really didn't want to take a gamble if I wasn't sure that this would work. So I sought out reviews. However, the only information I was coming across were reviews from people that were gifted these products. I didn't find a single person who paid for them on their own. Now, in some circumstances, that could mean something is fishy. Like, that would be enough for me to be like, I don't want to try this brand. However, from everything that I could tell, I think this is just because they are so small. This is such a small brand and it is so new that I think that's really the reason there aren't a larger variety of reviews out there. I checked everywhere too. I checked YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, everywhere I could, and the reviews were just few and far between. So I don't know if that will change, but I thought just for the fun of it, since I was going to be trying this, I might as well put my review out there as somebody who paid for this stuff. Now, I can't say that I paid full price necessarily because I used a discount code, but regardless, this was very much a gamble. So the brand I'm talking about is Regelica, and this was the product that first caught my eye, the Immunity Support Essence. It's primarily a vitamin C serum, but it has other very interesting ingredients in it. Now, among other things, one of the reasons I find skincare reviews so difficult is the amount of time you need to commit to something. So I don't really, that's why most of my skincare reviews are in my empties, because once I have completed a product, that's, however long that takes, I would love to give 90 days to everything, to not be willing to form my opinion until the 90-day period is up. However, because skincare is expensive, I really need to see something at least remotely positive within a first buy of something. So when I finish a serum, whether it takes me 1 month or 3 months to finish that serum, I'm not going to commit to another bottle of it unless I have some indication that it is at least helping provide hydration, if nothing else, but helping a little bit. So that's one of the things that makes trials like this difficult. Another is just the simple fact that most of these things are not targeting just one thing. There's a review that I'm doing coming up where I'm going over the Snoxin 2. This is supposed to be a Botox alternative. Obviously, I'm not expecting that. Nothing is a Botox alternative except for other brands of neurotoxin. I am not expecting that. However, I am interested to see if it makes any difference on my fine lines. So what I've done for this product is I did close-ups before. Right now I have no Botox at all in my face, so I thought it was a good opportunity to really give this a fair shot. And it's easy because I have something to target. It's fine lines. I know what to photograph. I know what to look for. When it comes to especially something that's part of a lineup, like it's not just this serum. There's a bunch of products that I was interested in. Everything is sort of antioxidants in general, even antioxidants in our food, like it's a preventative thing. So it's not targeting one thing. There's not one metric by itself that I can look at to see if something is effective or not. It's an entourage of things that addresses an entourage of problems. So it's just a very difficult thing to form an objective opinion on. So all of that being said, why am I doing this review? Mostly because I still like and dislike products, regardless of the fact that I don't always see obvious results from the ingredients that I'm looking to explore. I still will see hydration, improved skin barrier, or at the very least, not having a reaction or a sensitivity to something. So for that reason, I'm just out here to provide a review for these products coming from somebody that paid for them themselves and has nothing motivating me to like or dislike them. So, okay, first up, the Immunity Support Essence. I will say, luckily, I was able to use all of these products with my extra sensitive skin without problems. Part of that is the preservative system. They don't use phenoxyethanol, and that's my number one. Like, I can use products that contain phenoxyethanol if it's very specific. Like, to bring this up again, this Noxin 2, this uses phenoxyethanol. However, I'm only putting it on my forehead and on my crow's feet, and it burns for a second because that's what phenoxyethanol does to me and why I don't want it in my moisturizer. I can handle it when it's in a very specific area. All of the products here are meant to be used all over the face. So something that will push me into the camp of giving something a try is if they don't use phenoxyethanol. So that's number one. Number two is there's no other types of drying alcohols in this. While I don't have a problem when that's in an ingredient deck in and of itself, I know often when it's in my skincare, it just doesn't work for me because I really need to emphasize that I have extraordinarily dry skin. So, you know, my mother can use all of these things, no problem. She can use phenoxy because she doesn't strip her barrier and she doesn't have the extra sensitivities that I do. I don't for a second think that most people's skin is as sensitive as mine. Okay, with that out of the way, what interested me in this serum? Obviously the vitamin C. In this, they're using sodium ascorbyl phosphate, which has been linked to improvements in acne. So I'm all ears when it comes to that. It also contains sea buckthorn, which I've had good luck with. Sea buckthorn is a nice ingredient. It's one of those things that if you look into it, it has a lot of different reasons why people like it, but at the end of the day, it's just something that can help boost good skin. I don't believe that it is in and of itself a miracle ingredient. It also has what they call a microbiome complex, which is just supposed to help strengthen the skin barrier. And for me personally, outside of hydration, that's really what I look for most when I'm trying new products, especially serums. Outside of that, it has CoQ10, which I always love to see. I do use a serum from Timeless that is specifically dedicated to that, but sometimes I run out, so I like to have alternatives on hand and, you know, other just nice, hydrating, skin supporting ingredients. It looked like a good serum, especially for somebody who wants to use vitamin C and also has acne. So that was the first product that caught my eye. One thing that I forgot to mention when I was talking about the Immunity Support Essence was the fact that it was ever so slightly irritating. So that's probably the biggest reason I won't repurchase. If I'm really looking at the ingredients of this, I can find something similar in a formula that just works a little bit better for my skin. And for me, that's the Timeless CoQ10. I'm just going to stick with that because it's a lot more comfortable to use every day. That was the only thing that I didn't love about these products. They weren't necessarily soothing, even though the moisturizer worked out well for me. Everything else was just not comforting. I won't go as far to say that I felt that it disrupted my skin barrier. I really didn't feel that way. It just wasn't soothing, and because of that, I'm just going to reach for other products before these going forward. The second one was this moisturizer, which the reason I'm doing this review right now is because, as you can see, I've pretty much used this up. I'm going to continue and use the rest of the products until they're done, but I am just about out of this one. So this is the anti-aging cream, and it contains 0.5% bakuchiol and seaweed extracts, which I always love to have seaweed in my skincare. I don't know if it's all in my head or what, but I always feel like that's an ingredient that usually does help my skin feel more hydrated and less sensitive. And it also has 2% niacinamide and 5 different kinds of ceramides, all good for the barrier. So with the bakuchiol, you know, a lot of people call this a natural retinol alternative. I don't feel that way about it at all whatsoever, but it is a nice antioxidant. So while I feel like, you know, unless I was unable to use retinol, retinoaldehyde, or tretinoin, I would not seek out to use bakuchiol instead. but I would certainly use it in addition to those things. So I'm not going to seek it out, but I am going to be happy to incorporate that if it, comes with something else that I'm already interested in. The main target of this moisturizer is in thickening the skin. So for somebody like me who has exfoliated the daylights out of their skin, having a stronger barrier is always something that I'm very interested in. And this felt really nice. This is a nice thick moisturizer. I was using it during the day because at night I like to use something even thicker than this. I'm going to include some footage of myself putting it on so you can get an idea of how thick it is. I will say it absorbs pretty well and it leaves the skin feeling hydrated, but it doesn't leave a shiny look behind. I know for a lot of people that's a deal breaker, so I think it's always a little bit safer for brands to err on the side of a more matte finish. That's not my preference. Personally, I like a more glowy finish, but I do think that this is a more crowd-pleasing finish overall. Without dragging this out too much, this is just a nice moisturizer. I will say I don't feel like, compared to some of my other moisturizers, this felt super soothing, but it didn't aggravate my skin at all, and I did very much like it. I think out of everything in the lineup that I tried, I liked the moisturizer the best, and if I were to repurchase anything, it would probably be that moisturizer. The next product that I thought was interesting was this Mandelic and Elderweiss Renewal Serum. This is an 1 fluid ounce, and I think I'm only about halfway through. So these two products in particular last a really long time, so they are good values in that sense. This has 8% mandelic acid, antioxidants, elderweiss, and resveratrol, and it also contains squalene and centella. I like to always have, some amount of soothing ingredients on board. I've tried a lot of different kinds of centella from a lot of different brands, and I don't feel like personally I have noticed much in terms of soothing. Maybe I just haven't tried the right form of it yet. I'm not sure. But regardless, if I see that in a formula, I do tend to want to reach for it more, just in the off chance it is helping my inflammation. One thing that people don't tend to talk about that much when it comes to skin aging is how much inflammation can increase that process. And as somebody who suffers from acne, I am always in favor of anything that might potentially reduce my inflammation. So because of that, I like to have centella on board if I can. And mandelic acid is very mild. It's one of the most mild AHAs. So yeah, this just seemed overall to have a very nice ingredient deck. It has madecassoside, centella extract, asiaticoside, and centella leaf extract. So they cover their bases. It also has like panthenol and other ingredients that I find very soothing. As interesting as this ingredient deck is, this is not something that I'll be purchasing again. I just don't think that in my personal lineup with tretinoin and other things for pigment inhibition, I really need something like this. So I really wanted these two products. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't want the full lineup, but it was actually more cost effective for me to pick up this set. So with that, I also got these products, which is the Water Lily pH Balance Gentle Cleanser. This is a fine cleanser. I don't pay that much attention to cleanser only because I'm really looking to cleanser just to get the makeup and sunscreen off of my face in as gentle a way as possible. I am not using it as an exfoliation step or anything like that on a daily basis. So while this cleanser was fine and it seemed to be effective enough as a cleanser, I did actually find it a little bit stripping. So because of that, this is just not something that I'm going to reach for until I'm really out of other options. This set also came with this key for the tube moisturizer and this very cute bag. I will say, this bag doesn't necessarily look the greatest, but it's such a pretty color blue, and I'm such a sucker for blue. It's definitely my favorite color, so I didn't mind getting the bag. Because I bought this as a set, I was able to get the whole thing for $150 with a code. Alice has a code, some other creators have a code. it's only good for your first purchase. So after that, the discount goes down to, I believe, 15%. And full price, this set is $204. So if you assume the bag is free, that makes each product around $37.50, which is actually a good deal considering the moisturizer by itself is $72. This serum is $78. This essence is $58, and the cleanser is $35. So the only product that is cheaper on its own is the cleanser by $2. I mean, this is an expensive lineup. I do think that they've really gone out of their way in formulation with the ingredient decks the way they are. It was interesting enough for me to want to try it. That being said, I really can't say that I would repurchase any of it except for the moisturizer, but I don't believe I will unless I see it discounted significantly enough. What I do plan on doing is when I do eventually finish this, I will revisit this in an empties in the future. I've already been using this for 2 months and I have more than half left, so it is a good value. It's a very thick serum. I feel like it's really interesting to me how much of a difference viscosity can make and how long a product lasts. I've had really thick hydrating toners that I've gone through at lightning speed, and then other ones like this that just take for absolutely forever. So that is interesting. As somebody with very dry skin, burning through a moisturizer sort of makes sense. But I don't know. I just sort of feel like there are a lot of potential ingredients here. But at the end of the day, did I think that any of them made a significant enough difference in my skin, in my personal skin, to repurchase this? No, I did not. That being said, if you're looking to buy somebody who is really into skincare a gift, I think this would be fabulous. At $150, this entire thing would be a ton of fun for somebody who is really interested in skincare. Obviously, if they were young, I would say, it would be a real waste, but if somebody is over at least 35, they might really enjoy this. Okay, I will admit I was a little bit on the struggle bus with that. Very similar to makeup, most skincare, if it's meant for your skin type, is pretty good these days. And there's a ton of stuff where my genuine review is, it was all right, you know? It was okay. It wasn't the best, it wasn't the worst, it was all right, but it was expensive. So in this case, I will not be repurchasing anything from that. That's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I did originally film this with an empties at the end, but I decided to separate the two videos. So that's why I had to refilm the outros and intros. But regardless, I hope that makes sense, and I hope everybody's having a wonderful week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.